watching us from, and welcome to Between the Lines. I'm your host, Karanja Jackson. A few hours ago, the government made a decision to cancel this year's KCPE and KCSE, a decision that will leave many asking why now, and whether the decision was informed. We will take you live to the interview, the speech, or rather the announcement by the Cabinet Secretary of Education, Professor George Magoha, shortly. And later on we'll come back to studio to discuss what this means to the students and pupils of this great republic.
And many other stakeholders that have not been able to address you because they are quite sizable. The President, in his wisdom yesterday, directed and ordered that we should convey this message with these stakeholders to you directly. And before I read, I would want to share with you what he was talking about, what he's doing with the children that are around him. He has quite a number of them, running into hundreds. And he also suggested that perhaps it is important for you to know in the various estates, as the children are at home, if there are teachers there, as long as you keep social and physical distancing, nothing stops you from engaging the children. And he even told me a story where some of the children have small farms. They are being taught how to cultivate. So there is so much that the parents and the teachers can do as the children are still with us at home. And those words of wisdom came directly from His Excellency the President. Ladies and gentlemen, on Monday, 6th of July, His Excellency the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, on Monday, the 6th of July, 2020, His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta, in his wisdom, directed the Ministry of Education, jointly with all stakeholders in the sector, to notify the public on the resumption of the learning, and the stakeholders are behind me here, all of them. Following this directive, ladies and gentlemen, all stakeholders who had participated in earlier consultations on the reopening learning institutions have today held yet another meeting at this institution, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and we have discussed the feedback from His Excellency the President and the recommendations. We are happy to inform the country that His Excellency the President accepted the stakeholders' recommendations presented to him yesterday. As a matter of fact, he would have presented them himself to the nation, but again in his wisdom, he has empowered me on behalf of all the other stakeholders to present this to you. Arising from the consultations and concurrences today, I wish to inform the country that in consultation with the Ministry of Health and in conformity with COVID-19 mitigation measures, the stakeholders set up the minimum reopening of pre-primary, primary, and secondary institutions as follows. 1, reducing physical contact in learning institutions by having fewer learners will have great impact in reducing COVID-19 cases and fatalities associated with the opening of the institutions. 2, schools should only reopen when the daily percentage of confirmed COVID-19 cases have reduced consistently for at least 14 days, which we call in medical terms flattening of the curve, which has just been referred to by the physician who is in charge of this process. C, social and physical distancing is actually the most critical factor in ensuring safety and health of our learners for the reopening of the learning institutions. And I would like to add that His Excellency the President took the children to school through the 100% transition. And to most people, they think 100% transition means you take the people who have passed the exam. But what we actually did is we went to the people and took the children who are not in school to the various places that they should have gone. If you are supposed to be in Form 3, you went to Form 3. If you are supposed to be in Standard 7, you went to Standard 7. So we have the children at school. Hand washing with soap and or use of sanitizers, wearing of masks properly, and monitoring of body temperature. Here again, it's important to remember that you use the gun, not something that will be touching the body like in the past. So we shall be using the gun to ensure safety of learners. The total number of COVID-19 cases in Kenya is rising steadily, and up to yesterday we recorded 8,067. The highest daily number of cases was reported only 3 days ago on the 4th of July and was 389. Ladies and gentlemen, based on this very disturbing trend, stakeholders have shelved the initial proposal to reopen basic education learning institutions in September for Standard 8 and Form 4 candidate classes because of the following reasons. Number one, there will be 2 Form 1 classes in 2021 academic year. The country will experience very severe equity challenges, which may be constitutional in nature, when only 2 basic education classes reopen and transition while all the other children lose the year. Although the 2020 Form 4 cohort will have left, the total number of candidature in Form 4 is 752,000, as compared to approximately 1.2 million in Standard 8, which would mean then that even if we had the intention of using the space left by Form 4, we would be having a deficit of in excess of 438,000. Therefore, it shall be difficult, in fact not difficult, it will be impossible to achieve social distancing. And even social distancing apart, we shall be unable to have physical classrooms for this huge number. 4, all learners in grade 1 to 4, standards 5 to 7, and Form 1 to 3 in 2020 will remain in the current classes in 2021. Therefore, there will be no KCPE examinations in 2021, in the later part of 2021, because the students in standard 7 and Form 3 it will be practically impossible for them to cover the syllabus of 5 terms within 1 year. 6, the number of teachers required will increase because secondary schools will have a challenge of having enough teachers, especially for the optional subjects, to meet the demand of split classes. In Form 1, there are 11 compulsory subjects, which will necessitate employment of more teachers to handle the Form 1 double intake. 7, the inter-country movement of students in boarding schools will pose a severe challenge, especially for those traveling from Nairobi, Mombasa, and other counties, with high incidence of COVID-19 infection. This will contribute to the spike, leading to the uncontrollability of this disease. And 8, since the infection curve is rising at the moment, as we approach September, I am advised by Mr. Maio that over 90% of the parents have expressed very strong reservations of sending their children to school until the curve flattens. And Mr. Maio has branches in every county and in every sub-county. And through the WhatsApp groups, he's able to collect the opinions very quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, faced with this uncertain environment, these stakeholders have resolved to reopen all basic institutions in January. This is based on the assumption that the curve will have flattened, or we shall have known a little bit much more about this virus. Nevertheless, it is important to state here that this decision is not cast in stones. As His Excellency the President says very clearly, that all children are equal and must be treated equally. Should the situation change at any stage, then this committee that is behind me will have an opportunity to look at the situation again and see whether this can be brought forward. The implications of these resolutions are that, one, there shall be no KCPE for the year 2020. Number two, the 2020 Standard 8 and Form 4 cohorts will sit their examinations later in the year of 2021. And number three, the school calendar of this year will be considered lost due to COVID-19. These decisions made on institutions reopening will apply to all children, including those offering international curriculum. And I want to hasten to say that as we continue, because all children, the health of all children, there's no such child, in my mind as a doctor, there's no such child as a private child, a public child, and an international child. All children are children, once they are in the territory of the Republic of Kenya. And should a peculiar situation arise, I think the government of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has empowered us to continue to interrogate those situations as they arise. And of course, if there is any decision, he shall make the decision. And whether he allows us to communicate it to you again, that will be another issue. To ensure learners are engaged, the Ministry of Education will enhance remote learning, online, distance, and e-learning, and explore other innovative approaches to promote equity. Just like I have said, the President has said, he was talking of estates, but there could be a village. If you have somebody in a village and there's a teacher in the village and there are children, as long as you are observing COVID, there's no reason why you can't assemble the children and teach them as long as you are observing the COVID protocol. Are we together? And the example that he made, how he teaches, he himself teaches some of the children how to dig and create a small farm. If the president can do that, who are you not to do so? Why are you sitting somewhere very high waiting and making a lot of noise? So this can be done by all the teachers and parents, that in addition to the book learning, you actually take your child through the University of Life. Teacher training colleges and TVET institutions will be allowed to reopen from September, subject to very strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols. And you may ask why. These institutions, if they have good managers, can regulate the numbers in their presence according to the courses that the people are doing. Those who are not able to regulate, again, this will be on a case-by-case basis. There are only about 140. Those who are not able to regulate shall remain closed. By regulation, I mean you may decide you are opening for 30% of your children and you recycle, as the universities usually do. The Ministry of Education will in due course issue a comprehensive circular on reopening dates, when the Kenya National Examination Council will issue revised examination timetables, which again may not be cast in stone. Reopening of the universities for face-to-face will be on a case-by-case basis based on approved compliance with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health COVID-19 protocols. Universities, most of them, are doing so and should continue holding virtual learning and graduations for students who have successfully completed their programs and met graduation requirements set by their respective senates and councils. Universities should consider phased reopening. Actually, they must consider phased reopening, because we are going to inspect. Having been a university head for 10 years, I know that they have challenges in the boarding sector, and they must convince us that they have interrogated the students and they have agreed to spread out so that they just have the requisite number who are staying in their place to attain social and physical distancing. All institutions allowed to reopen must comply with COVID-19 regulations or risk reclosure. And you will ask who is going to be inspecting. All of us. Self-regulation is the best. But I can assure you that my whole team here, whether you are in basic, you will go and check whether the university. We are working as a team, and it is one government of one people, one leader, and we are working as a team. We don't have compartments in this government. All decisions that we have made here with stakeholders regarding the opening of learning institutions may change as informed by dynamic reports from the Ministry of Health, prevailing circumstances, and increased knowledge of COVID-19. And ladies and gentlemen, you will allow us not to field any questions this morning. I thank you very much. God bless.
Greetings and welcome back to Between the Lines. That was Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, where he made the announcement that the government has decided to cancel the KCPE and the KCSE 2020. With me in studio, I have a guest, Mr. Steve Maina Kimani. Welcome to the studio. Mr. Steve Maina Kimani is a teacher at Tender Care Junior Academy in Nairobi, where he teaches mathematics and science. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Stephen. Welcome, Sana. So, first things first, how have you been doing since the schools were closed?
Thank you very much for hosting me here.
Yes.
We have been having online classes since the month of March.
Okay.
We have been using Zoom classes previously as a pilotage program with a candidate class, that is the class 8s. It was proved to work very well, which triggered Tender Care Junior Academy to come up with a tailor-made program that will suit Tender Care as a school.
Okay.
And that is what we are using at the moment. And this is cutting across all classes. None of our classes has been left behind. Yes.
So you could attest that e-learning does work. Do you have some students who have not been able to subscribe to the whole idea of e-learning? Maybe because of poor infrastructure, electricity, a lack of access of internet, such things?
Those could be some of the factors, but I can easily attest to the fact that yes, there are some that have not gotten interest in joining the e-learning program.
Is it a question of interest or lack?
I wouldn't say lack.
Okay.
I wouldn't say lack. Because Tender Care is a big school.
Okay.
Situated in capital city, Nairobi.
Okay.
It's a big school, and I believe the parents and the capacity of parents that we have, they're able to do that. To go online, because what do you need? A phone,
On the phone.
a laptop, and internet.
How do you assess maybe attendance of students?
It is of 70%.
Okay.
Let me talk of 80%.
80%.
It's just a small number.
What about grading? How do you do it?
In this case, we have exams. We do give exams online, where we have an automated program that is able to mark and give results. Immediately, you submit your work.
Impressive. Guests who are, and those who are watching us, Mr. Steve Maina will help us discuss the decision by the government to cancel this year's exams. Send in your questions, send in your comments, and we will sample them as the show continues. Mr. Maina, I believe you have the copy of the address by the Cabinet Secretary, and I would hope that you would help us discuss some of the issues as raised by the Cabinet Secretary. He begins off by saying that the decision to do this was in line with the government's decision yesterday, where the government opened up several counties that were on lockdown. So let's just go straight to the first point. That number one, there will be 2 Form 1 class cohorts in the 2021 academic calendar. What do you think about that? Now, from the perspective of a teacher.
This will be a very challenging thing, bearing in mind that we'll have double intake. Double intake in this case, I mean, we'll have 2 groups in Form 1. We have the current Form 1, the year 2020, and the current Class 8, next year, they are expected to join Form 1s. That means we'll have 2 groups. So there will be 2 Form 1 class cohorts, in this case, friends, in the year 2021 academic calendar. That is exactly what it means. That we'll have 2 groups, of which I tend to believe handling them will be an issue, because you realize that January, February, before the school was said to close because of the outbreak of the coronavirus, they had covered something. There is a group that had covered something. Here comes another group
that is joining.
I feel like there'll be a disparity, yes, but it is doable, but it will call for the government to chip in. More so in terms of infrastructure and the manpower, that is in terms of teachers. Yes.
When addressing this, the Cabinet Secretary did mention that part of the reason why they've decided to do away with this academic calendar is because of inter-county movement of students.
Absolutely.
Where students will be moving from one county to the other, maybe going to the schools that they are studying. At the same time, we do understand that the government has lifted the lockdown on several counties. Isn't the government contradicting itself? On one page saying that we are opening the counties, then on the other one saying that we will not open schools because people will move? What do you think?
I agree with you that the government in one way or the other is contradicting itself. One, the parents are moving. The adults are moving. There is free movement of people. There are no restrictions in terms of movement. I don't know why it would sound weird when the learners are moving from one county to the other, and yet there is free movement. There is free movement. So I feel like there'll be no different when it comes to learners moving from one county to the other.
Then he also mentioned, I believe you have the document with you. Maybe we can peruse it together. That section 4, if I may call it Article 4, it says that all learners in grade 1 to 4, standard 5 to 7, and from 1 to 3 in 2020 will remain in their current classes. Let's go back to your school in tender care. Which who are your which are your classes that you handle? Is it upper primary or lower primary?
I handle upper primary.
Upper primary. So your students that are between standard 5 and 7.
4. Because
from grade 4 all the way to standard 7 will remain in the same class. What does that mean to you as a teacher?
I think it is a challenging situation because these learners were set to move to the next class, the year 2021. But that has happened against their wish. Psychologically, these learners will be affected.
Okay.
Because it will call for a lot of counseling for them to accept the fact that the year 2021 will still find you where you are,
Okay.
repeating the same thing. So I think it will be a challenge to us as teachers, as professionals, also to deal with the psychological effect of the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they also mentioned that. Okay, just allow me to take you back.
Yes.
What does it mean, or what kind of effect will it have? Let's say teachers aside, to the students who have been in the same year for 2 years now. I remember when I was in school, those people who would like repeat. It had this kind of connotation in it that you are a repeater, you didn't do well. Okay, now we have an entire class that has repeated, quote unquote, and not moved to the next class.
I think that is a psych up by itself, having all the learners repeat. It's a psych by itself. Because no child will stand and say, I have been told to repeat because, okay, some people, sometimes we talk of academically challenged.
Yes.
It is because of the situation on the ground. So actually acceptance, yes, it can be in, but like I have mentioned, it would call for a lot of psychological preparedness.
Allow me to ask you,
Yes.
do you think that now we have some of these students who now know, now the candidates, the KCPE and the KCSE candidates, who know that they will not have the exams at the end of the year? The exams will come later on next year. That's around maybe, give or take, 6 months, 7 or 8 months from now. Will there be laxity?
This will call for the parents and the teachers to create sense to these learners, because we don't prepare for exams because we are in class 8s.
Okay.
It is because we want to achieve the best.
Okay.
And to achieve the best, you have to prepare early enough.
Okay.
For example, when do we start preparing for KCPE or KCSE? We start preparing that when the child is still in grade 1, when the child that particular time. No, that is where we start failing. So it would be very, very wrong for candidates both in class 8 and form 4 to start relaxing at this particular time, imagining that they will sit for their national exam next year, the unknown time, because they have just mentioned that they will give out, they will maybe produce the exam calendar very soon, a reviewed one, of which our CS Mago has mentioned that it won't be cast on stone. So I would advise the candidates, that is the candidates 2020, those who are to sit for their Form 4 and Class 8 exams, kindly don't stop. In fact, it is enough time that you have been given to prepare yourself accordingly.
Better. That's a challenge to. Now, I had a question before we take a breather.
Yes.
In the few months that you've been doing the e-learning, have you? And I hope the parents who are listening to this will not victimize you for this. Are the parents being part of the e-learning process?
Yes.
They are?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Reason being, these children that we are teaching online don't own anything. Allow me to use such a word.
Okay.
They don't own the gadget. They don't own the internet. Let's talk of maybe the bundles. Who is giving out this?
The parents.
It is the parents. So,
but do you know also, allow me to cut you short, it's one thing to provide the bundles for the student, it's another to ensure that they are following what is being taught.
Yes, they do make a follow-up.
Okay.
They do call, I can assure you that. They do call where they need clarification. When we have exams, they give responses. Yes.
Impressive.
Yes.
We'll take a breather. We'll be right back where we'll be discussing the government's decision to cancel this year's KCPE and KCSE. In studio today we have Mr. Steve Kimani, a teacher at Tender Care Junior Academy in Nairobi. Don't touch the button, we will be right back. Welcome back to Between the Lines. Today in studio we have Mr. Steve Kimani, who is helping us discuss the issues or the pertinent matters that have come as the government has moved to, has decided to cancel the KCPE and KCSE exams this year. Meaning that we will have no exams later on this year. And while we were taking a breather, I remember you've mentioned something to the effect under the statement,
yes,
by the professor section, and I hope our viewers, the statement can be found on the different platforms as provided by the government. So section 3, no, sorry, actually section 4, it says that all learners in grade 1 to 4, standard 5 to 7, and from 1 to 3 in 2020 will remain in their current classes, that is the same classes that they are in. Then the next one goes on to say that now in the second paragraph, it says that the 2020 standard 8 and form 4 cohorts will sit their exams in 2021. As much as maybe we will have to wait for the government to give us a directive, when do you think they will do these exams? Is it at the end of 2021 or in between?
It will be in between. The reason as to why I'm saying that is because, one, they have mentioned of 2 Form 1s, 2 groups in Form 1.
Yes.
But when these Form 1s will join, I mean, when the current Class 8 will join the Form 1s, remains a challenge,
Yes.
remains unknown.
Yes.
When are they joining them? And how are they joining them?
Okay.
Bearing in mind that they haven't covered much. There are some schools, of course. Immediately it was declared that all the schools or the institutions, including the universities and colleges, are to close.
Yes.
There are some learners who have never touched a book.
Yes.
There are some learners who have never been attended
Okay.
by the teachers.
Yes.
Because maybe because of lack of capacity
Yes.
in terms of how can we reach them.
Yes.
So the question that is not clear here is, how are they joining Form 1?
Actually, I would like just you to hold on that. Actually, that's a comment by one of our viewers.
Yes.
Simon Mwendo says, all classes will remain in the same classes. The academic year was lost completely. If no KCPE and KCSE, who will join Form 1?
Exactly. And that is the just question that I've asked. Hi to my friend Simon Mwendo. He's a great friend of mine.
Okay.
Because how will you create that transition from Class 8 to Form 1? All along, we have known this to be a very competitive program or system,
Yes.
whereby learners have to excel academically for them to be given the schools to join. For example, there are those learners who score 400 marks. They are told, you are equal to national schools.
Yes.
The rest, you can maybe join extra county schools. The rest, the sub-county schools. Like that, of course, with a 100% transition. But in this case, I'm not seeing it happen that way. I'm not seeing it happen that way. Reason being, they haven't given room for these learners, one, to attend the syllabus and get tested to know who belongs to which group. Yes.
I think, and I do hope, maybe the government will come out and give us a better explanation to all this, because basically some of these items in this statement appear to be vague, if I may use that word.
Yeah, true.
Now, the next issue is that now, do we have the capacity? Do we have the capacity as a republic to have double classes? Should we get to the position that, as per the government saying that now we'll have 2 cohorts? Okay. Do we have the capacity in terms of infrastructure, that is rooms, classes, and teachers, to tend to all this?
I stand here and say no.
Okay.
As we are talking, you'll agree with me, we have a deficit of teachers.
Yes.
We have deficit of rooms where these learners work from.
Yes.
Or learn from. What do I mean by this?
Yes.
You realize that we have some classes that have a population of over 70. Go to public schools. That is the dilemma that these people are going through.
Yes.
That is the challenge that teachers are going through.
Yes.
When you have a population of over 70. And now, here comes another group that was not intended to join you.
Yes.
I feel like the government will have to work day and night for that to happen. And remember, we have limited time, because we're in the month of July.
Yes.
Meaning that we only have 5 months. And within these 5 months, a lot has to be done for that to be accomplished effectively.
Okay, so the government goes on and says, the minister went on and said that the Ministry of Education will enhance remote learning, that is online, distance, and e-learning, and explore innovative approaches to promote equity. You're a teacher.
Yes.
And you've informed us that from your school has been able to adapt and use e-learning.
Yes.
What about, I do believe you have friends in public schools. Is this the same? Are the teachers in public schools doing the same?
Okay, with the small number that I have interacted with, yes, there's some, but not the one that I can say one-on-one teaching. Because like in our institution, we have been using the live, where you're able even to see the learners and assess what exactly they are doing.
Yes.
And that would help in maintaining discipline.
Yes.
Not in a situation whereby you don't know what that child is doing behind the curtains.
Yes.
Or behind the camera.
Yes.
But for other institutions, most of the public schools,
Yes.
I feel sorry.
Yes.
Because there is very minimal that is being done.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some institutions, just I can quote, I have seen Restruck,
Okay.
Restruck Primary School,
Yes.
doing it.
Yes.
But they're using the WhatsApp,
Okay.
whereby the teachers send the exams with the answers, the parents produce or print the exams, and the learners do, and the results are taken back to the parent, to the parents.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I'm glad you've mentioned something about monitoring. The past several months, we've had figures and reports of increased numbers of young girl pregnancies. We've only been in lockdown, or maybe the students have been out of school for, say, 4 months, and we have those numbers going up every single day.
Every day.
Okay, allow me to take you back. In school, are the teachers doing enough to give these students enough coaching or mentoring in regards to issue about reproductive health?
I would say this. Teachers have done their part. And how do I know that teachers have done their part?
Yes.
It is in public domain
Yes.
that this has increased from the time these children left the care of
Yes.
where they have been talked to, where they have been counseled, where they have been taught much on the reproduction. But what has happened? Immediately they have walked out where the parents are now in charge, because I can easily say that as we talk, who is in charge of this child?
The parents.
It is the parent. What has happened? What has changed?
But do you think, allow me to take you back.
Yes.
Do you think it's one thing to tell or to teach these children about reproductive health? It's one thing to be taught, like in science. I know it's in science.
Yes, it is
It's
in
another thing to tell them that the world out there has people that prey on you young girls and young boys.
Okay.
Yes, I do understand, as you have said, you do teach them. But
Yes.
you also tell them about the dangers out there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because it is part of the syllabus. We have integrated learning, whereby some of these concepts are taught even in English as a subject.
Yes.
Leave alone talking of science or maybe sciences. This is also integrated even in mathematics. It is integrated in Kiswahili. It is integrated. So as we teach, alongside delivering the content, we also inculcate this information, this behavior that we would like to have them maybe show even when they're out there. But peer influence, I think, is one of the factors that is killing our children. Peer influence. Jane is doing it. Why not me? John is doing it. Why not Timothy? And I feel like that is where we are losing it.
What do we need to
Because,
do?
allow me
Okay, just continue.
say this. Parents also have a role to play. When you leave your house in the morning, what kind of instructions do you leave behind for these children to follow? Yes, the teachers have said, and of course it is known, when you do 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the repercussions. These are the expected results. But again, when these children are not well monitored, when these children are not well observed and talked to, even when they are at home, they can easily get lost. And I think that is the challenge that we are experiencing at the moment. Yes.
So the moral decay we are witnessing.
It is out of peer influence.
Okay.
How well are the parents engaging the learners at the moment? Especially those learners who are not maybe having online lessons. How are these children engaged? Do you leave them watching TV? And again, what kind of content are you leaving them to watch? Do you know some of these things, like the programs that we're having at the moment, the soaps, they easily interfere with the morality of our children. The relationships, that is exactly what they want to experience out there. Yes, Nani Kalota, I don't know who is, I don't know what. I'm telling you, it is a very difficult and a very challenging moment.
So the moral decay partially could be blamed on we parents?
I would stand by that. Because, yes, we have never experienced that before. Why? Because the teachers have done their part. The teachers have fully engaged these children to see that they don't deviate from what is expected of them. But the question is, when they get outside there, what has happened all of a sudden? What has happened? You remember that was last month. I think it is I think Machakos County.
Yeah, the numbers were from Machakos.
3,000.
4,000 actually.
4,000 within 3 months. Don't you think there was a problem? There is a very big problem. And we can't stand and say teachers haven't done their part. Yes.
Okay. So the comments are still coming in on our different platforms. Great discussion. One Mumbi Vesh says that great words of wisdom from you, cousin. I think that we parents need to do more in regards to our students and our young children. Wangoi Ndongo says, enjoying the show, a good discussion. Still waiting to see what the government is going to do in regards to e-learning. Because as much as the government will come out and say that it is doing enough, on the ground we still feel it's not adequate.
How enough is enough? That is the question. How enough is enough? How will the government be able to reach that child that is in Turkana? That child who is a nomad, moving from one place to the other, herding cattle. Don't you think this remains ambiguous? This remains unattainable? Yes. Look at, I wish not to challenge the government basing on the past, because of course if the system that was introduced where learners were to go the digital way with the tablets and the computers, with the laptops and everything had worked, then we can easily say the program can easily be done, just like our CS Magoha, Professor Magoha has mentioned. But at the moment, I'm not seeing it happen. Yes. Because look at the kind of parents that we have. Are they able to facilitate their children with a phone? Secondly, with enough bundles to have them run the whole day. Because I would expect if there are lessons will start maybe at 8 and maybe end at around 3.
Yes.
This is a lot of money being used here. Especially with the crisis that we have at the moment, parents crying out there because of economy, getting affected, loss of jobs and all that. I'm not seeing it happen. But if the government has to do it, then the stakeholders, that is parents association, the teachers, the government officers, all that, should sit down and come up with a clear way of doing it, so that it can be successful.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, the government also said that teacher training colleges and TVET institutions will be allowed to reopen from September 2020, subject to strict adherence to the Ministry of Health COVID-19 protocols. The minister actually mentioned that he and his team will actually go to the ground and ensure this is happening. I think this is a bit ironical, if I may use that, because we witnessed the government place a lockdown on several counties, yet there were still some people that were permeating through. Then I think this is it's just something to be discussed more and more. Keep sending in your comments, keep sending in your suggestions on today's topic about the government's decision to cancel this year's KCPE and KCSE. Mr. Steve Main, as we wrap up, what is the one word you can tell parents parents and as well as the candidates who have been hit by this message that they will not be sitting for the exams later on this year?
At the beginning of our program, I mentioned that the worst that parents can do is to relax at the moment. Now that they have been told that KCPE for the candidates 2020 and KCSE for the candidates, the Form 4s,
Yes.
will go to the year 2021. The worst they can do is to relax. It is high time they take advantage of time and do exactly what they have been doing. And if possible, do it better than they have been doing. Because it is time that has given to them to prepare adequately, to make sure that the learners, once they sit for that exam, they are fully prepared. So parents and the candidates, 2020, don't give up. Don't relent. Don't walk out and play because you've been told KCP is next year and within a known time. Go back and study more.
Okay.
Go back and study more, and this will add value to you later on. You'll not regret. You'll not regret, because it will be very unfortunate that you have all this time, then come the end of that exam, that very, very important exam, you find yourself failing, and yet you wasted your time.
Okay, I know this is just from your own point of view.
Yes.
Do you think now that the students have been given like an added 1 year, they should perform better?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. With the proper guidance from all the stakeholders, in this case the parents and the teachers, and even the relatives, we expect good results next year.
Yes.
Yes, we have been working with 450s as the highest. I think it is high time we break that and go to 470s, because it is doable. It is possible. If other people have done it, we can do it better than they have done it, because we have enough time. So it is upon the parents. Whatever you can sacrifice at the moment, do it. Sacrifice and see the success of your child. Yes. Sacrifice and you'll not regret. You leave your child at this particular time, you'll stand saying, I wish I knew later. Because you're giving this child a room to do whatever he or she wants. And there are so many teachers out there ready to spoil your child. Yes, we have bangi smokers. We have drug users to sum it up. Yes, so they'll easily get influenced negatively by the society out there. So contain them. You'd rather sacrifice whatever you could have paid as school fees this time. That is for those people who pay school fees. Kindly engage this child and ensure that something is being done to this child. Add value to this child, and you'll never regret. For example, if you leave a girl child at this particular time without any engagement, what do you expect? 9 months later, utaletewa mtoto hapo. That child, because this is a minor, it's still a child,
Yes.
will be having a very difficult time in future. Anataka kusoma na pia anataka kumlea mtoto. You'd rather do something. Talk to your children. Parents, talk to your children. Engage them. Make sure that they're fully engaged. Before you leave that house, make sure that your child has work that can be assessed. That can be assessed. Don't tell this child, usome novel mbili. Apana. If that child has to read that novel, make sure that there is a summary for it written down by that child. That will help, and will help to monitor what exactly this child is doing back at home.
Okay.
Yes.
So another comment from Celine Mjumba. She says that a matter of the have and have-nots, the students are actually who are less equal. They still want to see how practical the idea of e-learning will be implemented. So thank you, Mr. Steve, for finding time to come to our show and sharing a few things about the discussion.
Thank you so much.
I've been your host, Karanja Jackson. This has been a special edition of Between the Lines, where we have been discussing the government's decision or directive to cancel this year's KCPE and KCSE. Keep sending your comments, suggestions. We'll keep trying to answer them as the day moves on. From here in studio, it is Kwaheri and stay safe.
Thank you.